Okay, let's see if this works. I tried recording and it worked okay, so we will see if this goes through. I apologize for all the technical interruptions. It's when you got Ziggy running the show, bad things happen. So welcome into the Paul Farrington show. Robert Ziggy Ziegler coming in here from the University of Harvard, I guess. I wanted to say the University of Virginia, but that's some old thing. I have fixed the audio, so it's at least not a disaster. We got Ziggy running the show. It is what it is. What are we here for? I'll say it one more time. We are here to preview maybe the biggest regular season game in terms of emotions, in terms of excitement, outside of like a win and in playoff game that we have seen for the Green Bay Packers for some time as they had to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. We will be previewing every aspect of the game. We'll be talking offense. We'll be talking defense. We'll be talking special teams. I'm going to put a Q&A here in the chat. So if you have any questions you want me to get to, we can get to it. If things go right tonight, Paul is not here, which means that I could do whatever I want. There could be a little Ziggy jersey. There could be a little Ziggy poncho. There could be a lot of Green Bay Packers stuff. We'll see how things go tonight. We'll see how I'm feeling. But I will say, this is the first time in a long time that I've been rooting for the Green Bay Packers. You can tell already from the green shirt. This is an old one. But why am I rooting for the Green Bay Packers tonight? I mean, there's a couple reasons. Really, it's just I got to see Jack lose. I have got to see Jack and the Pittsburgh Steelers lose this game. I do not want to see Aaron Rodgers win another. I'm tired of hearing everybody talk about the Green Bay Packers being frauds, and I don't think they are. So we'll talk about what to expect this game. We'll have a preview. We'll have a little bit of fun. And we'll get to some of your questions, and that's how it's going to go. I appreciate everybody tuning in. It's already off to sort of a hot start. If you're enjoying this content, if you're enjoying the Solo Ziggy content, I promise you this is as bad as content gets on this show. So if you're liking it, throw a like, throw a comment, and talk in the chat. I'll see what I can get to. Feel free to subscribe. We are closing in on 25,000. We are very, very, very close. And as Paul has said, that's a number we could not imagine being here when we started. It's unbelievable how many of you are in here, how much support we have. So I can't wait. I cannot wait for this game. And I'm going to take the previous live off of our YouTube videos because that's just embarrassing. I don't want people finding that. Paul hopefully will never have to know this happened, and none of you had better mention this in anything that we talk about. That way we don't have to tell Paul that this ever happened. And that'll be that. So a couple of things here. Just to get into this game to talk about things I wanted to hit before we go. We did a preview show a few days ago, and one of the things we were going to hit on that we talked about was inactives. We weren't sure who would be ready for this game and who wouldn't be. There are a lot of players coming back for Green Bay this game. Obviously, having Dontavian Wicks and Lucas Van Ness out sucks. But you're getting two really important players back. One who you're going to hear a lot about is Christian Watson. Now, I will be honest, even though Christian Watson has been practicing, he's been doing stuff for the past few days, I don't know to what extent Christian Watson is going to be able to play this game. The Packers often like to bring back guys from injury slowly, and especially with Golden playing this game, with Romeo Doubs playing this game, I'm not sure what to expect there. On the other hand, the player coming back who I think will make a huge difference this game without question is Devontae Wyatt. One of the things we hit before this show, before this game rather, in our preview shows, is the Packers need somebody other than Micah Parsons to take care of business on the defensive line. Now, obviously, it's not that the Packers have no talent, but with Lucas Van Ness out, I was worried about the ability of anybody other than Micah Parsons to produce. Devontae Wyatt will be huge in two aspects, I think. One, obviously, is the run game. It is important that you shut down this Steelers running game because in terms of scrimmage yards, actually, obviously, we all know who number 2 is, DK Metcalf. But the player who's really been the most important player on the Steelers offense, weirdly enough, and at least unexpectedly for me, was Jaylen Warren. I thought when they took Caleb Johnson out of, I believe, Iowa in the 4th round, or was it the 3rd round? They took him early. I thought he was going to get a ton of playing time, but Jaylen Warren has not been able to get off the field. He's an incredible player. He is explosive. He's good at almost everything that you can do. So I can totally see Devontae Wyatt having a big game tonight. That's obviously important. Otherwise, Brandon McManus is active for this game too. It looks like he will be back and kicking. We will see how that goes. Obviously, in a game that's important for the Packers, it's nice to have your kicker back. He's been relatively reliable for Green Bay. And of course, when I'm talking about the Pittsburgh running game, I don't want to forget Kenny Gainwell either. But Jalen Warren is such an important player. If you can shut him down and force Rodgers to beat you in the air, obviously, obviously, it's really important if you're the Green Bay Packers that you're able to shut down the passing game. But I think you can give up some things to the tight ends, some things to the receivers. Like, we're not dealing with primetime MVP Aaron Rodgers here. Aaron Rodgers is a guy, he usually threw when he was with the Packers, it felt like for 3 or 4 interceptions a season. He has already thrown 5. There is absolutely a vulnerability there. Okay, you know what? Paul and Zach are in here in this chat roasting me. I'm working tonight. You guys are not working. So how about you lay off a little bit? I put out a poll before we started whether or not this should be renamed the Robert Ziggy Ziegler Show. 80% of people said yes. So I'm just saying I could absolutely be coming for your job. That's how it goes. So that's what I'm interested in watching. As Devontae Wyatt comes back to this defensive line, can somebody other than Micah Parsons do something? Obviously, Micah Parsons is a special player. We saw he's somebody who's able to take over a game 100%. We saw it last week. But Devontae Wyatt's good. I feel like people outside of Green Bay never talk about this guy. He is an unreal player. I'm not going to say he's like an all-pro or anything like that, but this guy can absolutely play ball. That's very, very important. On the offensive side, Christian Watson is back. That's the headline. But for me, really, the headline is that, you've got Matthew Golden playing. You've got Romeo Doubs playing. You've got Watson. I don't think he's going to take a ton of snaps, but he can be in there as a deep threat. I'm excited to see what Jordan Love can do against a Steelers team that's near the top of the NFL in explosive plays allowed. We got a super chat in here from Mike Witt. Hey guys, no matter what happens, at least my Cowboys fans can't give me crap. LOL, yikes. We said in our preview show that this would be a tough week of football. This was a tough week of football. The Broncos blow out the Cowboys, and what struck me as one of the more exciting games of the slate. The Eagles roll the Giants. The Patriots roll the Browns. The only game that wasn't decided by, I believe, 3 or more scores, the only ones were the Texans-49ers game, which was not as close as that score made it look, and the Jets-Bengals game, which featured the most hilarious loss in the NFL we've seen since last week. Brandon B says Ziggy Soul is the boom goes the dynamite guy. Look, that's me. It is what it is. But who cares about whether the rest of the week sucked or not? We're here for one game. And that game is watching the Pittsburgh Steelers wear, are these the ugliest jerseys I've seen in my life? I'll tell you right now, Jack is inside Acrisure Stadium, Heinz Field, losing his mind. Those are some of the absolute worst jerseys I've ever seen. I'm sure he thinks they're really, really cool. Absolutely not. Yeah, that's rough. By the way, I will say, next, if we get one more super chat, I'll throw on the Packers jersey. Why not? I'm rooting for the Packers to win. I'm absolutely willing to go all in on this. Paul's going to be disappointed. Paul's going to be upset. I do not care. We are here for one thing and one thing only, and that's the downfall of the Bumblebees. It is what it is. Let's get to some of the Q&As here. Q&A, we've got one from Sounds Epic Music. Are we going to win with 27 points again? That would be hilarious. The Packers keep winning with exactly 27 points. But I'll answer Hoopok's question. We want a score prediction. I'll give a score prediction here. I think it's going to be Green Bay 30. All right, we've got the super chat. It's coming on. It's coming on. Why not? We're here for a good time. Paul's going to be upset. But if Paul's not going to show up to the show, Ziggy can do whatever he wants. This is what Ziggy wants tonight. All right. I'm wearing the jersey of the team I'm rooting for. What more do you want than that? Look, if I had grown up a Vikings fan, maybe I'd feel differently about this rivalry. Maybe I'd feel a little bit more upset. Maybe I'd have this resentment towards the Packers that Paul has. I absolutely don't. Like, the Packers are a fine team. I want to see them lose when they're playing the Vikings, but otherwise it's absolutely whatever. Look, when Ziggy runs the show, you never know what's going to happen. It is what it is. He's probably busy talking to Richard Sherman right now. Okay, we've got a question here from Max Nordemeyer. How do you finally feel being able to show your support for the Packers now that Paul's not around? I'll be honest, it feels pretty great to be able to finally admit that I don't want to see Jack's Pittsburgh Steelers win. All week, I've had to play this like, oh, I'm neutral. I don't really want to see the Packers win. I absolutely want to see Aaron Rodgers get murdered tonight. Yes, Israel Sosa, Jack is at the game tonight. I absolutely want to see Jack upload a reel crying because the Steelers got blown out. I am so tired of hearing about this Pittsburgh Steelers team being a contender. I'm sick of it. I don't want to do it. The fact is, like, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't think they're that good a team. We will see what happens, but when you combine a defense that gives up a bunch of explosive plays with an offense that, while it's certainly been okay, I think is not the level of the Packers, I'm having a hard time understanding why Green Bay is only a 3-point favorite. End of day, like, what's going on? Green Bay's got the better offense. Green Bay's got the better defense. Maybe a special teams collapse is going to doom you all tonight. I mean, that is typically how it goes for Green Bay. It is what it is. But I don't know. Joey G asks, is Aaron Rodgers going to throw a pick? One thing you do have to think about, this Packers secondary is not good. If there's one reason that Green Bay is going to lose tonight, it will be because 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers is able to get the ball out quickly to his receivers. And I will say one player who you probably have not heard a lot about who's coming back for Pittsburgh that's really important is Calvin Austin. I'm going to be very excited to see what Calvin Austin can do tonight. He's he's an explosive player. He's one of those guys that you often don't see talked about much in the NFL, but I think he can fit in very well with the Steelers offense. I don't know. Micah Parsons, though. Like, that's really the matchup on the defense to watch. If the Pittsburgh, for the record, Kurt Benkert, former Green Bay Packers quarterback, says these Steelers uniforms are clean. These Steelers uniforms are terrible. I have no idea what people are talking about with this. I have no idea how this got approved. But look, the Packers secondary has got to play better tonight. And I'm interested in watching particularly Nate Hobbs. Nate Hobbs almost played himself off the field last week. And it's not like you don't have other options at corner in Green Bay. You've got Javon Bullard, you've got Valentine. Like, there are players, but the way LaFleur has talked about it, it seems like he wants to give Nate Hobbs a chance. And tonight is going to be a really, really big one. You have got to play well against these Steelers wide receivers. You have got to play well against Aaron Rodgers, because if you make mistakes in the secondary, Aaron Rodgers absolutely is something that Aaron Rodgers can play football, and he is, sometimes quarterbacks get older and it feels like they forget how to play football. I think like 2018 to 2023, Joe Flacco was a prime example of this. This is a guy who absolutely struggled. Suddenly now Joe Flacco is pretty good. By the way, folks, I can't stream the game. That's too much streaming, and it is what it is. But Aaron Rodgers, the first half of 2024 was really, really rough. But since then, he's absolutely played good football. And we've seen it in some of the more important Steelers games. While he's made a few more mistakes than he typically does, like Aaron Rodgers, when he's at his best, is somebody who can elevate this offense. But when have they actually done it? I mean, obviously you put up 34 in the Jets. That's nice. But you got blown out by the Seahawks. You needed 5 turnovers to beat the Patriots by 7. You beat the absolutely putrid, awful, terrible, I never want to watch them again, Carson Wentz Vikings by 3. You beat the Browns. I'll give him that offense performance from the Browns. Aaron Rodgers played great that game. And you just lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, can anybody tell me why this Steelers team is favored going into this game? I don't get it. It is what it is. Let's get back to some of these questions in the Q&A here. We've got XX McLovin XX. Can we tell Jack to stop humanizing himself and make himself likable with that short that he created today? Look, we love to dunk on Jack a little bit. I love to dunk on Jack a little bit. I know our fans do. Jack's a great guy, and he brings a lot to the show. And as much as I want to watch him suffer in Pittsburgh tonight, it's not his fault. It's not because I want Jack in particular to suffer. It's just because I'm tired of watching this Steelers team get overhyped. How many years has it been? Steelers fans tell us that the AFC is finally going to run through Pittsburgh. By the way, the Ravens are still favored to win this division at 2-5. If this doesn't tell you something about who the Steelers are, I don't know what will. But it's so exhausting to listen to the Pittsburgh Steelers, isn't it? By the way, you've got RBF in here. I think the Packers roll tonight. I think they're way better than the Steelers. This is what I'm saying. And we will try. I have no idea if it will be remotely possible to get Jack in. Sancho keeps saying I'm doubting Aaron Rodgers again. Yeah, I'll doubt Aaron Rodgers. It's not because I think Aaron Rodgers is bad. I think Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback. It's because I think you need MVP level Aaron Rodgers to be competitive in this game. And I feel like all year the Steelers have been priced in like they'll be able to get MVP level Aaron Rodgers. That's not who we're getting this year. This year we're getting pretty good Aaron Rodgers. And it would be so funny. As much as I want the Packers to win this game, it would be so funny if an Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary beats Green Bay because the secondary is terrible. Somehow I don't think that's going to happen. Smooth as Butter says we haven't won there since 1970. Are you worried? People love to bring out stats like that. Like the Green Bay Packers haven't won in Pittsburgh since 1970. And I'm not dunking on you in particular, but I don't think things like that matter at all. You look at like the Packers lost at the Pittsburgh Steelers in like 1998. Who was on the team in 1998? Pittsburgh Steelers had Slash as their quarterback. The Packers' leading rusher was Travis Jervey. Brett Favre had like a pretty bad game because that's what Brett Favre did sometimes. That tells you absolutely nothing about what this Green Bay team is going to do. It's just a completely different team than what we had back then. Will you get a prime vintage Aaron Rodgers moment? Maybe. But you have to keep in mind, right? There's a chance the game just runs away from Pittsburgh. This Steelers defense is not like the Steelers defenses of the early 2020s, especially if TJ Watt isn't able to get it done. Now, obviously, he's in like a sack race with Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett just passed him on the all-time sack race today. But if you look back to that Bengals game, we talked about this a little bit in our preview show. It was so easy to sit back and just be waiting. Like, when is this prime TJ Watt play going to come? Because TJ Watt is one of those players who you felt you could always count on for some huge game when the Steelers absolutely needed it, or a huge play when the Steelers absolutely needed it. And it didn't come. It didn't happen. You might get that again tonight. I don't know. Man, the Steelers have to lose. I mean, I'll say it one more time, and I promise I'll stop. Look at these uniforms. These Steelers uniforms are disgusting. So I'm not worried about the history. I don't think it matters at all what happens with Green Bay in the past. You've got Jordan Love now. You've got Micah Parsons now. It's time for this Green Bay team to step it up. And there's a reason they're favored going into Pittsburgh, though I still think not as much as they should be. Ex-DJ Rose asks, how close is the show to 25,000? I will say we're right there. We're less than 150 away. So if you're liking this, preview, like, comment, subscribe. We're so close to getting to 25,000, and we appreciate every single one of you. We still read almost every comment that comes through here. We really appreciate all the fans. And by the way, if you're not a member, it's not too late. We will be recording our members' questions only mailbag next week. If you become a member, you can throw in a question and we will get to it. I'm not sure what day it's going to be coming out. My guess is probably Thursday or Friday, but it's not too late to get your question in. So feel free, become a member, throw in a question. We appreciate absolutely all of the support. And anyone will be able to watch the mailbag. The members only thing is just for getting in questions. I'll also say, we were told that like this field was going to be repaired. I thought that like the grass or the turf would be replaced. Does this look like a replaced field to anybody else? Maybe the biggest enemy of this game for the Green Bay Packers is not actually the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe it's this field. I don't know. This looks absolutely terrible to me. Though maybe I'm missing something here. Let's see if we've got any more questions in the Q&A. Nathan Presler asks a question. Boy, it's like you know exactly how things go. Who is the X Factor player for each team? I talked a little bit about who I think is the X Factor returning from injury for both teams. Devontae Wyatt for the Packers and Calvin Austin for the Steelers. But if I had to pick an X Factor player who I haven't already mentioned, so some people are going to say like the X Factor in this game is like Micah Parsons. That's silly. Look, folks, we know that if Micah Parsons plays well, this game is going to be easy. And if Micah Parsons doesn't play well, this game is going to be a disaster. One player actually who I'm keeping an eye on, who I think is really important for the Steelers, or excuse me, for the Packers going into this game, is Nazir Stackhouse. Look, he's not a guy you hear a ton about outside of Green Bay media, um, but he's absolutely had an important year for the Packers. Like, it's his ability. I know that he hasn't done a whole ton this year, but there have been a couple of times where on the inside he's been tested. I think to that Dallas game, there were a couple of times where he was able to step up and make a big tackle. Now, he has not seen the field a lot against Cleveland or against Washington. And we'll see how much playing time he gets this game. But sometimes you just get a feeling that some random player is going to have an absolutely big game going into this one. Don't ask me why I'm getting the Nazir Stackhouse feeling. It just feels like it's there. As for the Steelers, who would I say there? By the way, Paul would tell me that that's like an absolute terrible player. You're supposed to pick a player that's like good. Somehow I don't have that in me. Who's the X Factor player for the Pittsburgh Steelers going into this one? I'm going to stick with Calvin Austin. Maybe if you want, Ben Skoranek could be in there too. Whoever that wide receiver 2 is, and it's not going to be Roman Wilson, I'm sorry. Someone other than DK Metcalf is going to have to make a play this game for Pittsburgh if they want to have the passing offense. And it could be either one of those guys. Ben Skoranek, I remember watching him at Notre Dame. He's only had one reception this year, but it was a big touchdown catch for the Steelers. This is a guy who could show up in a big way. Calvin Austin is the player I do expect to show up. He was targeted quite a bit when he was healthy and had some big plays for the Steelers. Again, this is the guy I would keep my eye on going into this game. Joe 4 asks, what number of sacks does Micah Parsons have to have in order to make the $47 million price tag worth it? I'll say this much of respect to Micah Parsons. And Mike Tomlin said he's an alien. This guy is an alien. It's less about the raw number, though 5.5 sacks through this number of games is really important. It's about when the plays come. For a long time, it's felt like this Packers defense has not had a player who has been able to step up at an absolutely important moment on the defense. We saw last week, Micah Parsons, when the time comes, he is one of those few defensive players who can single-handedly end a game. Myles Garrett, who, by the way, I feel like this is not going to get talked about enough, had 5 sacks today in a loss by, like, more than 3 points. He was smashing his helmet on the sideline. I don't blame him. Bro had 5 sacks and a forced fumble. But, like, T.J. Watt, prime Aaron Donald, Xavier McKinney in a few of the games last year, actually. But there are very few defensive players who, when it simply comes time, can step up and single-handedly win a game. And that sort of thing is the thing that makes a quarterback very nervous. It's what makes a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's an old man, like sit back and get very, very nervous. I don't believe Micah Parsons has ever actually sacked Aaron Rodgers. Mostly because like he didn't do much in that playoff game they played. But this is his last chance to sack Aaron Rodgers, and I'm expecting at least one tonight. If it comes at a big time for them, you don't need a lot of sacks for that one big sack to absolutely change the game. Let's see. Let's get to some of these other questions here. Andrew Kremer asks which part of the Steelers' defense will give up more plays, the line or the secondary? It's got to be the secondary, right? Like looking at this Pittsburgh depth chart, I will give you Joey Porter Jr. is an excellent player. He is fully earned. He was not picked for nepotism. Great guy. Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey have been terrible. I mean, awful. One way you can tell this, by the way, is that Jalen Ramsey has 26 tackles this season. You do not want your cornerback to have 26 tackles. Darius Slay has had 23 tackles. For the record, Joey Porter Jr. has had 11, right? This means they're getting thrown at a lot, and they're getting a lot of passes completed against them. Like, this secondary, it's not great for them. So I think that's got to be where the plays come for Green Bay, if there are going to be plays that come for Green Bay against this defense. Hupek asks if the game's tied going in the fourth quarter, who have you got? I think the Packers absolutely need to run away from this game if they want to be able to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do not want to face Aaron Rodgers in a very, very close game. This guy, he absolutely can take over when the moment comes. We know who Aaron Rodgers is in the big moments. I want to have a 2-score lead going into the fourth quarter if I'm the Green Bay Packers. By the way, Dan Bolka asks, please tell me you're not going to get a Harvard degree and become a sports podcaster. You need not fear, because I'm not getting a degree from Harvard. I'm currently a researcher at Harvard. I'm getting my degree from the University of Virginia. which is no Notre Dame, but is a fine enough place to go to school, I suppose. Let's see. Let's get to some other questions. Paul Coker asked, will the Packers offense show up? I don't want LaFleur doing endgame management again. That's another reason. I do not trust this this Green Bay Packers team if it gets into a close situation where LaFleur has to use his timeouts correctly, where he has to call great plays at the end. Just blow him out. Just take him out of the game and get the bad vibes going. Make DK Metcalf get a personal foul. Whatever it takes. That's what you've got to do in this game, I think. I think if this game is close, I will get a lot more nervous for the Packers. I think my hope is that if you're the Green Bay Packers, you've got to get a lead and hold on to it. And Jordan Love can do this, right? We know that this Packers offense, when it's clicking, the Detroit game should be your model here. They're a great team, but you go in, you absolutely punch them in the mouth early. You go into halftime up 17-3. And then you just need to chill for the rest of the game. Let Josh Jacobs do his thing. Let the defense do their thing when they're in obvious passing situations. Let Micah Parsons and Edgerrin Coopers just pin their ears back and rush at them. But you're going to have to be able to get some kind of lead here. And if the Packers have a lead and they're getting confident and Jordan Love feels pressure to make a move, that's when things could go wrong for Green Bay here. By the way, Hupak, you're absolutely right. UVA, I was telling anyone who would listen that UVA plus 10.5, UNC plus 10.5 against UVA was the lock of the century. I didn't think it would go to overtime for the third time in 5 games for UVA, but boy, howdy. Brendan Park asks, what do you study? I do work on philosophy. So right now I'm working on Leibniz and Mary Shepard. I'm in that degree. Why? There's a philosophy factory opening down the street from where my parents grew up. I'm just trying to support my family here. Work a solid 9 to 5. Ideas in, ideas out. You know how it goes. Other questions. Let's see what we've got here. XX Zeppelin XS asks, why did you hitch your horse to a dying wagon? The Vikings, the Packers will accept you with open arms. No, I have no desire to be a Packers fan. Look, you guys love life on easy mode. It is what it is. If you're a Green Bay Packers fan, now I get it. You've had your share of playoff disappointments, but every once in a while, you win. I'm not a winner. I'm not a fan of winning. That's not what I do. I'm a loser. I want to see my team lose, and I want to lose in a heartbreaking way. I'm a philosopher, not a tragedian. And if you go back and read Platonic dialogues, you'll see there's a suspicion of the tragedies. But everybody loves a good tragedy. It's cathartic. It makes you reevaluate your life. It helps you see what really matters. If I were a Green Bay Packers fan, I might start to think that football matters. But when the Minnesota Vikings lose, you can sit back and say, well, it's just football. It is just football. And the Minnesota Vikings have me saying that almost every week. You can go back and watch our react to the last Vikings game if you want to see a way that they got us to do that. Okay, Joe, for the record, the Vikings do not suck in the regular season. We're good in the regular season, and then we fail in the playoffs. That is how it works for Minnesota. I don't want to hear it. I like the King Lear shout-out, by the way. That's pretty good. I'm more of a Richard II guy myself. I wasted time. Now time doth waste me. That's pretty good. Okay, other questions here. Let's see if we got some questions about the game. This is from M2. McManus says kicking night. In your mind, does the success of Hasbro give Brandon McManus a short leash? A couple missed kicks now would be the worst timing of his career. NFL teams are weird about kickers. I don't know why y'all handed Brandon McManus that really big contract. By the numbers, kickers generally don't do any better or any worse than average once you're at the level of an NFL kicker. Teams draft guys, teams sign guys to big free agent deals. Besides a prime Justin Tucker, there have not been a lot of kickers that have outperformed the medium, especially in clutch situations. That is how it is. But look, if McManus starts missing kicks, yeah, I don't care. Go ahead. By the way, Most27, I will lose my mind if this Green Bay Packers team, if we go back to the crack tosses and jet sweeps. Can anybody tell me, this is a question for the chat, can anybody tell me what the Green Bay Packers see in these crack tosses? Especially we've seen a couple bizarre tosses on third down or jet sweeps on third down. What are you doing here? Absolute disaster. Absolute disaster for the Green Bay Packers. You can't be doing that. By the way, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A. Packers fan 5841. Great name, Packers fan 5841. Asks, do you think Coop will have a good game? I will say, I'm not going to say I've been disappointed in Edgerrin Cooper, but I thought he was going to have an absolute monster breakout season. And while Edgerrin Cooper has been pretty good, especially was good in week 1, they have him dropping back a lot. And I don't think this has been a great use of him. I get that he's incredibly athletic, and I get that he's intelligent, and this makes you want to use him as your linebacker who can follow the motion guy. And I get that Micah Parsons is here, which means Edgerrin Cooper can't be a pass rush. He's fitting into that like Micah Parsons role in Dallas in the first year before they made Micah a full-time pass rusher. And I get that he's a better guy in coverage than Quay Walker. But I really think that you need you need Edgerrin Cooper to be complimenting Micah Parsons and doing some of those really big things. I get that that involves being a little bit risky and leaves a possibility of having some guys open. But at the end of the day, even if you're worried about Quay Walker's ability to cover, in my view, you absolutely have to get Edgerrin Cooper doing what he does best, sprinting at the passer and taking him out. And I don't know when that's going to come. I don't know how that's going to come. I'll tell you, if Brian Flores were in Green Bay, he would absolutely find a way. I think if you're Green Bay, you got to find a way here. Because at the end of the day, you should have your best players doing high-value things. That's just how it goes, in my opinion. So I'm excited to see what Edgerrin Cooper can do. I'm very interested in seeing how things go. But, by the way, great Malebranche call-out. Not everybody knows about Father Malebranche. Occasionalism, super cool. Malebranche's stuff on original sin, on free will. He's a great phenomenologist of the human experience. Great call-out. Everybody knows Malebranche from the no necessary connection argument. He's got a lot more than that. And by the way, yeah, I know that Edgerrin Cooper can play coverage. I know that he got a pass breakup last week. But there's only one thing more valuable than the sack on the defense, and that's a turnover. More often than not, a sack basically is a turnover. Right? If you get a sack on second down, make it 3rd and long, they like run the ball or do a short pass and punt, you effectively just generated a turnover. So you absolutely need him doing what he's good at. In my opinion, look, I'm not a defensive coordinator. I have few problems with what Jeff Hafley has done. It is what it is when you're this Green Bay Packers team, and you've got sort of an embarrassment of good players. But I feel like Edgerrin Cooper could be one of the best pass rushers in football. And he's just not getting used like that. How to make it happen, I don't know. It's not my job to figure that out. I'm just calling it like I see it. You got a lot of people going in, giving their score prediction. Steelers 70, Packers 3, Packers 70, Steelers 3. That seems improbable. Patrick DS, are you guys cycling fans? Did you fancy Tour de France on a whim? I'm absolutely a cycling fan, by the way. Tadej Pogacar is currently the GOAT of all sports, the way he's racing, if he continues this up. Wiggly Joker asks, I think, a pretty good question. How significant is the aggressiveness disposition of coaching for each team? Tomlin is Mr. Conservative in general, though he started to let things off the leash a little bit. I'm not saying that you've got to be as aggressive as Dan Campbell, but I want to see LaFleur dial up the aggression. I do not want to give Aaron Rodgers extra touches. I don't want to let him answer me touchdown for field goal. You have got to limit what Aaron Rodgers can do, and that means holding on to the ball and scoring touchdowns. So if it's 4th and 1, 4th and 2, you've got to let Jordan Love do what he does best and throw the football. Or you can run it. You've got Josh Jacobs, who's one of the better Tier 2 running backs in the NFL. I think he's a very good player. So there's a lot of possibilities here. But I think for the Steelers to win this game, they need to be hoping that the Packers are not aggressive. Because the Packers are aggressive and get explosive plays going if they don't give up on drives. And we know LaFleur likes to give up on drives, in part because he doesn't trust the offense, in part, I think, because he doesn't want to look like an idiot. You've just got to let it happen. And we'll see where that goes. By the way, that's the Venerable Bead in the back, for people who are wondering. Tundra Not Wonders. I don't know. We've got a Q&A here if we've got other questions. I'll be off in just a minute because the game starts in just about 10 minutes. But Before we go, I want to see if folks have any last questions, thoughts, concerns, complaints. If you've liked the Robert Ziggy Ziegler show, let me know. If you got any philosophy questions, you can throw philosophy questions in here. Look, it's Chaos Cran is in here, surprised by the Green Bay jersey. I'll say it one more time. Am I a Green Bay Packers fan? Absolutely not. I will never be a Green Bay Packers fan. I could not be a fan of this franchise. But sometimes you want the Green Bay Packers to win. Once in a blue moon, the Green Bay Packers are going against Jack Weinberger's Pittsburgh Steelers and a chance to absolutely humiliate the Steelers on the road, at home for the Steelers. How can you not root for that? Tim Swim asks how many subs for you to buy Packers stock. There aren't any of those. I'm not going to be doing that. I do not want to financially support the Green Bay Packers more than I already have. Heading over to the Q&A here. Let's see if there are any others. Packers fan 5841 asks, will Golden get a touchdown? I hope so, but probably not. I certainly hope that he gets a touchdown, but at the end of the day, the red zone just doesn't involve Matthew Golden very much. That's simply not what this guy is up to. Chaos Crown, I didn't know you had a Ziggy's Closet Packers fan thing. That would be absolutely funny. And Paul is in here. He's finally seen what I'm wearing. Listen, Paul, you wear the jersey for the team you root for, and tonight I'm rooting for the Green Bay Packers. It's that simple. After this game, I can go back. I won't be rooting for the Green Bay Packers. I'll want to see the Vikings win again. But I absolutely want to see the Pittsburgh Steelers get crushed tonight. As for who I do think will score a touchdown tonight, I think Josh Jacobs has one in him. I think that one of the tight ends has one in him. We got a nice question here from JMYFN. Explain how prime matter persists through substantial change. One of the things you have to realize, and this is often missed by like contemporary, I'm not going to say good Thomas, but like the people who read Thomas once and think it's cool. Prime matter it's purely intellectual. It's not something that actually exists. It's just something we need in order to understand the world. If you're going to go in for like an Aristotelian prime matter picture. So am I going to be able to do am I into the prime matter stuff? I'm not so sure, but talking about prime matter persists is talking about prime matter as if it's a substance. And I don't think we can make sense of something that's not a substance persisting. Prime matter is sort of a nothing. I don't buy it. Any other questions? Let's see. I'm going to go over to the Q&A here. Max Neuermeyer asks, if no one there is to use a Vikings fan, are you a Packers fan? No, I'll never be a Packers fan. NFC North head coach rankings, Campbell 1, LaFleur 2, KOC 3, whatever's going on in the Bears 4th. I don't know what Paul's going to say after that. Hey, guys, we will see how this goes. But let's see. I'm trying to see if there are any other good questions here. Should I start Christian Watson over Tyler Warren? No, Christian Watson, I think, is not going to get a whole lot of snaps tonight. We will see what this guy does. It is what it is. I'm going to see what Paul says, and then I'm going to wrap the stream here. We'll end up in just a moment. But by the way, Paul, I will say I did get a super chat in order for me to put on the jersey. So don't say I'm not putting the show first. I'm absolutely putting the show first. I don't know who did this, but it's terrible, Paul says. I'm responsible. I want the Green Bay Packers to win tonight. I will say it. I am not afraid to say it. So as we're wrapping the show here, I've appreciated everybody who's been in here. If you're enjoying this, like, comment, subscribe. We're getting so close to 25,000. We're less than 150 away. We're right there, and we appreciate every single one of you. So I'm going to wrap this stream here because the game's starting in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to conclude this in a way I thought I would never conclude a stream for the Paul Farrington show. But because I'm rooting for this team, like Andy Herman would say, go Pack, go.